Well, good morning, humanity. It is September 5th, 2022, and it's the favorite time of our week because it is Mondays with Bev and Paul. And hi, everybody, my name's Paul.
Good morning. This is Bev.
This is Bev, and I'll tell you, it's Labor Day, and this show is going to be a labor of love because no matter how much we're dying, we're still here because Bev's dying from allergies.
Oh my goodness.
So she's
Woo.
going to wear her glasses so they'll reflect and you can't see her
Yeah.
swollen eyes.
It's either that or throw a picture up.
Right, we have a picture, so if we lose her, we'll just show her pretty picture there. There you go. So, but we're going to go forward anyhow. So we're going to talk about credentials in doing biotouch, and we're going to start with this great little question we had in comments, and it went like this. It went, do the founders of this technique have any training or experience in healthcare or bodywork? I haven't heard them introduce themselves as LMT, DC, or DO. Just their first name.
Just the names, ma'am.
Just the name. So you do have our last names, Bev Wood and Paul Bucky, but no, we do not have any titles after our name. First of all, we're not really the founders.
Right.
And that was a good point too, because the founder had no titles on his name. I mean, he
Uh-huh.
was a mining engineer. He had no body work experience, no healing work experience. He was politically involved in all kinds of stuff, and these points just came to him. And so, no, we don't have credentials, and the beauty is none of you need credentials.
That's it.
That's our whole purpose here. That's the
That's it.
beauty.
And like we were saying, unless you want to put HB behind your name, human being.
Human being, right? So we'll start this off with a little story I had once about I was part of a presentation for the Hawaii State Nurses Conferences, and they went to all the different islands, and I was up there sharing BioTouch, and I get up there after there were doctors, there were MDs, there were nurse practitioners, there were chiropractors, there were all those people with titles. And so I would get up there and I would go, well, I just got to let you know, out of all the presenters here, I'm the only one that doesn't have any titles after my name. And finally, after about the second time of doing that, the woman who was the conference leader got up to introduce me, and she says, well, I just want to let you know, I've been listening to Paul give his presentation. He's always telling you how he doesn't have any degrees or titles after his name, but he is one of the only people who presents himself here today as Mr. Paul Bucky. So his titles are in the front of his name.
That's great.
So I do have a title, MR.
MR.
MR. Mr. Paul Bucky. So, and that's sort of the beauty of how we present
Yeah.
BioTouch. Is
Yeah.
it's for everyone, and everyone's effective, and there are no levels. Um, and let's go over our manual. Yeah, that's what we wanted to
Yeah.
sort of use this paragraph. This is in our manual. Here it is. We're showing it. It says there is no attempt in the following pages to explain why these procedures work. The goal is only to teach an individual how to touch certain points, which will help facilitate the healing process rather than to do something, and we'll talk about that in a minute. With a simple intent to help one's fellow human beings and proper instruction, assistance may be initiated by any individual. No special talent is required to be effective. Everyone, because of their inherent love and compassion for those who are suffering, can perform these methods without limitation. Everyone who is capable of understanding how to locate the few points described in this manual is qualified to participate in the healing process. The idea that the body's healing abilities may be affected simply through touching without recourse to religion, potions, social status, or other agents may seem absurd, but results are the criteria by which any method should be judged.
There you go. When you were talking about Norman, I thought how perfect that this technique to have come to him, just a regular guy with no pretense of anything, healer, any of that stuff. And I think that is how it had to be, because that really reinforces when we say that this is for everyone. Just regular old folk, just living day to day, with all that stuff that happens as a human being. And BioTouch is accessible and usable for every one of us.
Right. And so that's why it's important in that little paragraph there where we say, we're not teaching you to do something. What do we mean by that? We're teaching you how to touch some points. The
Right.
doing process is between you and your body, or the undoing process, or whatever advice you need to get, or whatever person with credentials you need to go see. It's not up to us in our teaching of BioTouch to give you any recommendations. We're not here to diagnose you. We're not here to push you in any direction. We're just here to lightly touch your body and help you come to your own self-awareness where you and your body will figure out what you need.
Yeah. We've seen that time and again, because how many recipients have come through those doors at the center or into our own personal lives already with a diagnosis from one of those people who have those titles
Right.
named, behind their name. They've come in with a diagnosis. And so right there, we're just like, oh, okay. And then so they start working with BioTouch. And I think as we always come back to, don't we always, the roads always come back to self-awareness.
Right.
That's the beginning of really that connection with your own body. So you've been given a diagnosis by someone who's legally authorized to do so. And then you find yourself in this crazy center, this loving, amazing place, and lightly touched on the body, and oh my goodness, what's going on? So, in that self-awareness, we learn that, oh, this is our own journey. It doesn't happen outside of us.
Right.
Just because I have a diagnosis from another person doesn't mean that I can't participate in this healing journey.
And that's the key that BioTouch gives people, is the inner strength that through that self-awareness to understand your body and to live in hope, not fear. So yeah, I can get these diagnoses from here, from there. I can look it up on Google. Every one of us diagnose ourselves the minute we get up in the morning. Oh, I look really well. Oh my God, I can't open my eye today.
Oh, my eye is great.
Must be allergies,
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have been some dog came in and licked your eye shut or something,
Oh,
But
I'd rather have that than allergies.
right. But we have diagnosis all the time, and we've created in our society to depend on those diagnoses outside ourselves and not trust our innate knowing that this might be going on or that. So we don't have dialogues with our professional care people. We end up just listening, absorbing, and spitting out what they said. And BioTouch gives us the opportunity to dialogue, to have a discussion with our healthcare professionals. Because we know best what's going on in here. And so we can take all the information we're being given by the diagnosis and the protocols to take care of it. And we can sit with ourselves and we say, oh, okay, I get it. I can do that, and continue to do BioTouch. BioTouch is not contraindicated by it. It doesn't go against anything.
Right.
It can only enhance.
Embraces everything.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and especially as you were talking about the awareness of ourselves in our body, what does this body need today?
Yeah, that's I think in many ways the bulk of humanity itself has come to a point where we have been guided by those that we have been told are in authority in our lives, and we go to them because, oh, by the way, they have this whatever after their name, and so but what we're missing is the trusting and really the remembering how incredible our own bodies are. It This is an intelligent unit. We've said that many times. The body is an entity that already has a plan for itself. It wants
Right.
to be healthy and whole and
Right.
happy.
Right.
And here we are, misery and blah blah the eye and everything, and we take it upon ourselves to disassociate ourselves in that healing process because somebody has said, oh, this is what's going on with you. Well, okay, and then what? There is no hope. Sometimes there's a lot of fear, right?
Definitely that. Definitely that.
And all of that stuff because we've been given a diagnosis. We talk about that in one of our
CP
CP
classes.
classes, our certified training classes,
Yeah. And
how
and
how BioTouch interacts with all of that.
right. And that is probably one of the key factors on uh, the power of biotouch, and the hope, as happened with that woman that told us that her husband, it was the only technique they did and they were in their 20s, that brought them hope. And it was just hope that everything's going to be okay. At some point, the body has to have a ticket to get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, true.
There is some ticket to get out of here, and when that is between me and my journey.
That's
Only I
right.
can decide when that is, and so BioTouch helps me come to terms with that, to my
Yeah,
life challenges, to my sicknesses, to my health, to my happiness. It helps me crystallize that within myself,
right.
not depending on those degrees.
Yeah, when you tell that story of that young man, it wasn't, he had a terminal disease, diagnosed with a terminal, and he was dying, and they knew that. But when she told you that that was the only thing that gave them hope, I'm thinking, okay, well, there is no hope in terms of this physical body,
Right.
but that goes way beyond. And I think that's part of the self-awareness journey, isn't it? That when I'm in this physical body now, but the hope comes from I'm so much more as that. I'm on this journey to discovery what I truly am, and it all is held in our bodies, and that's why we know that BioTouch is so powerful. It begins right where it needs to,
Right.
at the very foundation of what in the world we're doing here on this planet.
So that question about what credentials we have, what's our titles after our name, we don't have any, and we're here to remind you you don't need any. That because what's happening with those titles, it's very interesting. LMTs, licensed massage therapist. Over and over and over, I get the question, well, don't you need a license to touch? And I'm
Yeah.
always blown away by that question. I'm like, why? How have we created in this society the
Absolutely.
fear of touching another human being, and that you have to have a license? You
Yeah.
have to have
No,
a degree in order to be able to touch another human being.
that's where we
Absurd.
come. Yeah. It's true. It's true. And you know what's interesting? I I have observed that in all of our trainings, 99% of the people that take our trainings, when we talk about the touch, they all agree. We have become touch phobic.
Right.
We don't touch me. Stay out of my space. And this sense of separateness from each other. That is where we've ended up.
Right.
And now here comes BioTouch. The only way it's going to work is two people touching these sets of points on each
On
other
the
and
skin.
help.
Right. And
I
so
love it.
once, when we were going to write the book, we were going to call it BioTouch, Resurrecting the Reputation of Touch.
Wow.
That's
Yep.
what this is about. We're
Yep.
bringing touch back into our families, into our neighbors, into our humanity, where we begin to touch one another again for the purpose of healing, not killing one another. So you don't need a credential for that, folks. You just need to take those two fingers and reach out and touch someone. We wanted to share with you how to do the allergy and infection and poison sets here.
Oh, yeah.
And all of us can think about doing this on Bev because she doesn't have anybody there. So let's show it and think of Bev as you're doing this on yourself here.
The infection, allergy, and poison sets are 3 separate sets of points. They all share the same hold point, which is the same as greeting point 1, located in the fleshy area just below the base of the breastbone. As with all sets of points, these may be touched repeatedly. Infections of any kind anywhere in the body may be addressed by holding X and with the other hand touching point 1, which is at the base of the large muscle on the right side of the neck and slightly above and behind metabolism point 1. Allergies or allergic reactions may be addressed by holding X and with the other hand touching point 2, which is on the right side of the neck, directly behind metabolism point 3 on the top of the large muscle. To address poisoning within the body, hold X and with the other hand alternately touch point 1 and point 2.
Very simple. Just on the side of that large muscle, it says top, side, whatever, and it's only on the right side.
Right.
Very simple to do, very effective. I've done it in emergency situations. You know, if you have somebody and your eyes swell up, it's too bad. I think we're going to send a little human being over there she can put in her pocket when Bev gets all sick. Here, like that little magic. Open up, like the Jack in the Box thing.
Right.
Here I am. I'm here to do BioTouch on you. So reach out and touch someone. You know, we have ways to learn this all the time. We have classes going on. We do have our next workshop coming up. We're going to talk about seasonal affective disorder as we're moving into the dark times of the year. And it's not as much of that happening here in Tucson, but people do get it, and we're going to talk about that with Coach D is her name. And I'm really looking forward to this one. She's a brain coach and neuroencoding specialist. So it's always interesting to learn about these titles.
I know.
These degrees after your name. And then our next virtual training is going to be September 20th. That's a live virtual training, 9 a.m. to 4:30 Arizona time. And we encourage you to join us for those trainings. That teaches you the whole system. Otherwise, you can download our manual, ebook version of it. Teach yourself. It's very simple. You don't need a degree. You don't need any past work with healthcare or with healing work. You don't have to center yourself. You don't have to be initiated by anybody. I mean, you just have to be, as I've always said, even jerks can do BioTouch, and I have proven that to the max.
And done a very good job.
Done a very good job. And just wanted to share one other thing about how you don't need a degree. When we first started BioTouch, there were a bunch of truckers in the old days. You know, they had their own little group of people, and they were truckers in the whole Southwest, around the country, and they all learned BioTouch. And I'll never forget the one guy he'd go all over, you know, these truck stops. He'd work on people, you know. I mean, they were CB in those days. It was old CB. Hello. You know, get your BioTouch at the next truck stop. For years, this guy thought the spleen was in the head. So I was like, see, you don't. It still worked. He didn't need to know it, but he did learn. I mean, when I first started, I had not really learned about the body, but over 30-something years, I've learned a little bit more and a little bit more. So when people come in and they say, I have such and such and so, I go, well, I can't help that, but if you tell me where it hurts, or if you tell me where the diagnosis, what organ is being affected, or where the pain is in your body, I can take these two fingers and touch there and help your body correct the problem. That's all you need.
That's it.
Well, Bev, you did great, even with a half-shut eye.
Ooh, thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Hopefully, Bev will have both eyes wide and open.
I'll be there in person, so I better, huh?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yep.
She will be here next week. And
Yep.
take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Have a good week.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action. Put love into action. If you ever want to have any real satisfaction, choose love while you still can. Don't even try to understand. A healing grace in your own hands. Put love into action.